Today I'm going to tell you about the linear ramp control built into the Ultronic DE-3000. The linear ramp control is used for speed. It's set up to be an output of a 4 to 20 milliamp scale on channel A02. Now it looks at channel 1 for its input, which in this case I have set channel 1 set up as suction pressure. So I'm going to talk to you about a few things on the menu system. The first thing we're going to do is set up how we calibrate it. So I'm going to go into the menu by pushing menu, then enter, then menu again to continue. Edit control values, enter, drop down one time to edit controls, enter, and now I'm at linear ramp control, so enter the last time. Here I can see I have a low variable of 10 psi-G. And at 10 psi on my suction pressure, I'm saying, hey, I'm going to put out 7 milliamps. I have a high variable of 40 psi-G, and I'm saying I'm going to put out 20 milliamps. Now, what I've done here is I'm not letting it go all the way to 4 milliamps. I'm letting it go down to 7 milliamps and stopping. Obviously, this would be in auto. We don't want it to be able to go maybe too slow because the engine may bog down. So I've set a stop, but to adjust these, we just simply scroll through with our cursor by pushing enter, and we can change the values using the up, down, or the left, right arrow keys. So I like the way this thing's set up, but keep in mind when you're setting one up, the closer you put these two numbers, the low 10 and the high 40, the more sensitive to a pressure change your RPM output command is going to become. So I'm going to escape out of this. And now I'm at the home screen. Now I'm going to go into the next menu. So I'm going to push next, enter, next, and I'm at the analog output 1 screen, which is set up as a PID loop. We can definitely see that. So I'm going to push next one more time, and it takes me to analog output 2. Now analog output 2 is showing us that the calculated RPM is 1400, that it's in auto, which is a new feature. We'll come back to that in a minute. It's at channel analog 2, or analog output 2, and it's at 100%. My current suction is at 42.4 psi. Now I'm going to go to where I'm measuring the output, and we can see, yeah, it's at 20 milliamps right now. Disregard the word suction pressure in that gauge. I use that gauge for a lot of experiments in my lab. So what I'm going to do right now while I'm in this menu is I'm going to just slow down or lower my suction pressure and disregard my actual RPM because I am in a lab and I'm running a simulator. I can change that to anything I want by twisting a little knob. So just disregard that. But keep in mind in the real world you're going to see your engine change. Okay, so I'm at 40 psi, and as soon as I start dropping down, look what happens. My analog output changes, and we can see where I'm measuring that output, it's changing with it. And remember, what I've done is I've set a stop because I don't want my engine to run too slow. So as I continue to lower my suction pressure, remember 10 is my low target, the analog output moves perfectly linear with the relation between these two target points. And this is what makes this system so great for RPM control. You can set up engines to where you have real quick swings in pressure, but nobody likes that, especially the emission techs and the EPA. Or you can set your span a little bit further by setting your low variable and your high variable further apart, and to where you almost don't even notice a change if the pressure drops just a little bit. Okay, so I'm at roughly 25 pounds. I'm going to kind of hold it here, and we can see we're putting out 58%, which is 13.3 milliamps. And I'm going to go on and go all the way down to 10 psi now. Okay, now notice we stopped at 19% out, And remember that operator limit on that low variable, I had set it 7 milliamps, and there we are. So that's a great way to limit my low RPM on my engine. So I'm going to go back into the menu real quick by escaping out of this. Menu, enter, menu. I'm going to go back into controls, back into the linear ramp. And now I'm just going to change that low variable a little bit. Let's change it to 5.5, and we'll call it good. And if we go back and look, so I've just lowered the RPM on my engine. All right, now I said I was going to tell you about the auto feature, which is something that's brand new. So I'm going to go back into the next menu. Right now it's in auto, but watch what I can do. This is really cool. I can toggle it into manual by pushing F1. And now I can speed my engine up manually. And obviously we can see the output changing. Now here's what we did that was really cool. I'm going to raise that suction pressure up to full rate. So I'm going to go back up above 40 psi. Now what we don't want is we don't want too quick of a change on an engine RPM, especially one with turbos. So I'm going to toggle this thing back into auto, and what we should see is we should see a nice slow ramp up to 20 milliamps or 100% out now that we're above our high set point that was set at 40. And you can see it's changing, but it's not just going instantaneously. It's a slow ramp up. So when we toggle to manual, it freezes. When we toggle back to auto, if the auto setting that's being desired is much higher or much lower, it's going to be a slower change, not an instant change. All right, end of video. Y'all have a good day.